Hi everyone, and welcome to Scarecraft. Now, have you ever bought a cheap plastic prop to go with your Halloween outfit but found it just looked a bit too cartoonish and just didn't look real enough and ultimately left you a bit disappointed? Well, in this episode we're going to repaint this meat cleaver prop that I bought for £1.50 from the local thrift shop, and we're going to make it a lot better. This is a quick, really easy thing to do. As you can see, this is fine as a kid's Halloween prop, but we're going to make this cleaver look old, rusty, and a lot more deadly. Okay, so what you'll need for this build is a plastic weapon, some black spray paint, some PVA glue, some sand, acrylic paints, brown, burnt umber, burnt sienna and orange as a minimum, a selection of brushes big and fine, silver metallic paint, some burlap string or cord, and if you're going the extra mile, some brown ink and maybe some black paint as well. And finally, a beverage of your choice. So, first I just cleaned up some of the flashing from the side and handle so it was less visible, just using a bit of sandpaper, but you could also use a knife. I just roughed up some of the surface as well on the blade so the next paint layers adhere really well to the surface. I decided to cut some notches in the blade edge, as little touches like this will seal the overall look of being old and rusty. I also added a couple of small plastic card embellishments to the handle which will look like bolts once painted. Next was a quick base coat all over in black spray paint, and then on to painting. I painted the blade in my chosen silver. When you do this, try to keep the coats level and thin. Don't allow any drips or runs to form. You want it to look flat and metallic. Once that was dry, I then went in and painted the handle. I'm using a beige and caramel colour and just mixing the two randomly so there's some variation in the tones, which will make it look more like real wood. With that done, I then washed the handle with brown ink mixed with water and just slathered it all over. It runs into the grain on the handle and makes it look more realistic. Okay, let's rust up that blade. To do this, we're going to make a rust potion. So, we mix 2 parts of sand to about 1 part glue and a couple of drops of brown umber paint and mix it all together really well. The consistency you are looking for is a bit like toothpaste, so that it can be spread quite smoothly, but also stippled for depth if needed. Now, apply this mixture wherever you want the rust to be. Rust is a naturally occurring process, so avoid any straight lines, too rounder spots or repeating shapes or patterns on the blade. Focus the rust where you think it would naturally form on the blade, so probably on the edges, where the notches are, anything that kind of might hold water. Just try to keep it as natural looking as possible. Don't overdo it either. Sometimes less is more. Okay, now we need to go back and paint the rust. So you need your brown umber paint, your burnt sienna and orange. Now pick a rust spot, carefully paint it with brown umber. Then while it's still wet, add burnt sienna to the middle of it and blend it with the brown umber. Then add some orange and focus that more to the middle as well and any elevated spots on the rust spot. This is basically to give the impression of the rust being browner on the outside and where it's worse in the middle, more orange. Blend any transitions of these colours if they're too visible. Once dry, it should be really giving that rusty vibe. This is starting to look rusty. So now we can add a little bit of brown ink, a couple of drops of water, and just add some wash around the rust spots as well, mixed in with perhaps some watered down black paint to add a bit of sort of tonal texture to it. And then take a look at the blade, the finished article. You'll see it adds to the overall rust and aging effect of the blade. Okay, we are almost done with this. Now to finish off, I dry brushed a little silver back to the blade edge to make it look really sharp, and then also tied some string between the handle and the blade to help manage the transition between the two. And we are finished. From a fun prop to something with a bit more scare factor. But hey, that's what we are all about here at Scarecraft. And thanks for watching. And as always, we'll let the Scarecrow have the final word.
Thank you for watching this video. If you like what you've seen here today, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be putting out much more content in the future. Until the next time, adieu.